Welcome to our channel. If you love inspiring and emotional stories based on real-life values, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated. Now, let's dive into today's story. Crownville, a cold Monday morning. Thick clouds hung low in the gray sky like a heavy blanket smothering the city. Puddles left from last night's rain dotted the sidewalks and streets. Car headlights flickered on the wet asphalt, fading like stage lights after a somber show. Naomi Carter pulled her old jacket tightly around her, one hand clutching a small breakfast bag, the other gripping her worn backpack. She walked briskly along the sidewalk, her frayed canvas shoes squishing softly with every step through the damp pavement. Her gray uniform, the symbol of her cleaning job at Crownville Towers, was always washed and neat, though the seams were beginning to fray. She was 23, young, but her eyes had seen more judgment than kindness. Naomi didn't dream big. She only hoped to not be late for work, to keep her job so she could care for Olivia, her 7-year-old sister still fast asleep in their tiny one-room apartment. A loud engine roar broke her thoughts. She turned just in time to see a shiny white SUV rounding the corner at speed. Naomi stepped quickly onto the curb, but it was already too late. Splash! A wave of muddy rainwater shot up and soaked her. It splashed across her face, her clothes, her breakfast, and her dignity. Her neatly wrapped sandwich landed in a puddle. Everything she prepared that morning was now stained and soggy. The SUV didn't stop. Instead, the driver's side window rolled down, just slightly. A glamorous blonde woman, her lips painted bright red and eyes hidden behind designer sunglasses, leaned out. She smirked and said, "Watch where you stand next time, girl. Don't dirty other people's cars." Then the window rolled up, and the SUV sped away without a hint of remorse. Naomi stood frozen. Her face was unreadable for the first few seconds. Rain and mud mixed as it dripped from her chin. Her breath quickened, her chest tightened. But she didn't scream. She didn't curse. She didn't even cry. Instead, she simply looked down, clenched the strap of her backpack, bent to pick up her drenched bag, salvaged what was left of her breakfast, and kept walking. Across the street, a black car sat quietly behind a row of trees. Inside, a man in a dark suit watched in silence. That man was Daniel Hayes, the young CEO of Hayes Enterprises and majority shareholder of Crownville Towers, the very building Naomi was heading to. He had seen everything, the splash, the laugh, the humiliation. Daniel didn't leap out like a movie hero. He didn't rush to rescue her. He sat still, eyes fixed and calculating. But those eyes were far from indifferent. He was a man used to witnessing scripted performances and two-faced smiles in the corporate world. What he saw today wasn't an act. It was raw reality. A young woman publicly humiliated by someone who didn't even think it was wrong. He reached for his phone, pulled up the dashcam feed, rewound, and saved the footage. It clearly showed the SUV's license plate and the woman's face, Vanessa Monroe, a name he recognized immediately. Founder of Monroe Line, a fashion mogul lauded for elegance and poise, yet never praised for compassion. Daniel murmured, "Not the first time." Naomi arrived at the employee entrance of Crownville Towers at 7:10 a.m. 10 minutes late, she slipped through the back gate, hoping no one would notice her disheveled appearance. But her soggy footsteps gave her away. Naomi, a gruff voice called. Mr. Glenn, the morning shift supervisor, stood at the end of the hallway, arms crossed. "You're late. And what's this mess?" Naomi lowered her gaze. I got splashed by a car. I tried to clean up." "No excuses," he snapped. "We got VIPs visiting today. Clean yourself up and get to work." She didn't argue. Naomi walked quickly to the locker room. No one spoke to her. Some glanced over with awkward pity. No one helped. She pulled out her backup uniform, even older than the one she was wearing, and changed. Hair tied up with an old elastic band. Face wiped with paper towels. No mirror. No makeup. No tears. Only silence. Daniel entered the private elevator from the ground floor. His assistant, Monica, followed with a stack of folders. "What do you need this morning, sir?" "I want the file of the young cleaning girl who just walked in through the back." Monica paused, startled. "Her?" "Yes. Find her file. Also, check the security cameras. Daniel stepped out on the 34th floor, his office with sweeping glass windows overlooking all of Crownville. While other CEOs jumped into meetings and conference calls, Daniel stood still, watching the sidewalk below. Somewhere down there, the girl with the defiant silence was scrubbing the stair railings like nothing had happened. And Daniel Hayes knew, today, her fate was already beginning to change. The vacuum cleaner roared down the hallway on the 4th floor, blending with the hurried footsteps of office workers. Naomi bent over, scrubbing stubborn stains from the stair railings. Her damp rag was already darkened, and her cleaning gloves had a small hole on her index finger. The sharp smell of bleach hung heavy in the air, but she was used to it. Everything was going on as if that morning had never happened, like the mud thrown on her had been erased along with the humiliation. But deep inside Naomi, the laughter still echoed. Not because she felt ashamed, but because no one said a word. No one defended her. No one asked if she was okay. Not a single kind word from her co-workers. They all passed her as if she were invisible, just part of the background, not worth noticing. She recalled the look in Mr. Glenn's eyes earlier that morning. Not a hint of sympathy. He cared only about building cleanliness and punctuality, even though she'd been splashed with mud in full view of the street. And though a part of her wanted to scream, Naomi remained silent. Not because she was weak, but because she knew explanations from someone like her were rarely heard. On the 34th floor, inside an office with glass walls overlooking the city, Daniel Hayes leaned back in his chair. On the desk was a thin personnel file. It read, Naomi Carter. He read every line carefully. 23 years old. Resident of West Pine. Lost her mother 2 years ago. Works 2 cleaning jobs, Crownville Towers, and a small hotel near Central Station. Supports her younger sister Olivia, 7 years old, in 2nd grade. Behind the papers was a photo. Naomi smiling gently next to a wide-eyed little girl. Daniel stared at the photo for a long while, then gently tapped his finger on the image. She didn't deserve that, he murmured. Monica, Daniel's assistant, knocked and entered. Sir, what should I do with this file? Daniel didn't look up. He said quietly, nothing for now. Leave it. Let's observe a little longer. At noon, Naomi sat behind the building on a worn-out wooden crate. She opened her squashed lunch, half a sandwich, a bottle of water, and a napkin. She sat alone, far from where the other workers gathered. While eating, she checked her phone. No texts, no calls, just a missed call from her sister. Her eyes wandered toward the iron fence across the street. A man in casual clothes, wearing a cap and sunglasses, walked by. He slowed near the hotel entrance and stopped. Daniel. He didn't speak. He pretended to check his phone, watching Naomi silently. No makeup, no expensive coat, no spotlight. Just a young woman trying to make it through the day. The way she carefully opened her water bottle. The way she wiped her mouth after each bite. The way she occasionally texted her sister, trying to cheer her up. Daniel saw in her the shadow of his own mother, a woman who passed away from cancer after hiding her illness for years, never wanting to be a burden. A quiet woman who lived her life with silent strength and endless love. Daniel's gaze softened. Something about Naomi kept him from walking away. Later that afternoon, Naomi was cleaning a conference room on the 11th floor. She wiped down the glass, recalling her sister's words that morning. Naomi, can you come home early tomorrow? I finished my drawing. She had smiled. I promise. But deep down, she knew promising was one thing. Getting off work early was rare for someone juggling 2 cleaning jobs. After finishing up, Naomi returned to the locker room. When she opened her locker, she froze. Hanging on her hook, usually reserved for old clothes and rags, was a small brown paper bag. Inside was a brand new pair of gloves, a carefully wrapped sandwich, and note. She unfolded it. A fresh start for someone who deserves it. No name, no clues. Naomi stood still, her hands trembling slightly. She looked around. No one was there. Silence. But her heart felt warm, perhaps for the first time that day. A small act, yet it shone through the darkness of her long, weary life. High above, Daniel watched from the building's internal security feed, seeing Naomi open the bag and freeze in quiet disbelief. He didn't smile. He didn't feel proud. Morning light slipped through the curtains of Naomi's small apartment, casting pale stripes across the peeling walls. Olivia, her little sister, was huddled on the floor, carefully coloring her drawing, her tiny back curved with focus. "Naomi, someone dropped candy at our door yesterday. I picked up 2. One's for you," the little girl beamed. Naomi smiled, brushing back Olivia's curly hair. She had done everything in her power to keep her sister from sensing the exhaustion and humiliation she endured daily. Olivia's world should still be filled with pink crayons and laughter, not rags and scornful eyes. "Thank you, sweetie. But next time, don't eat things people drop, okay?" Naomi said, leaning down to kiss her forehead. She stood up, slid into her worn-out shoes, pulled on her faded coat, and stepped outside. The air was colder than the day before. But at least today, she had a new pair of gloves, the anonymous gift she still hadn't figured out. Inside the conference room on the 10th floor of Crownville Towers, Vanessa Monroe sat cross-legged, holding her signature latte. She smiled confidently at the group of investors. "My new winter collection just launched, and the feedback has been explosive. We're already booked through the next quarter." One investor hesitated. "About the video that's circulating, are you going to address it?" Vanessa frowned. "What video?" "A short clip, looks like dashcam footage. You splash a cleaner with mud, then say something unpleasant." Vanessa laughed loudly. "Oh, please. Another cheap edit for clicks. Who cares about some janitor? I'm a public figure. These things just boost my name." But outside the meeting room, her assistant Gina exchanged a worried glance. They knew the video was spreading fast, and the public wasn't on Vanessa's side. Naomi was cleaning the front glass panels when she noticed several people staring at her. A female staffer whispered to her colleague, both sneaking glances and chuckling. Naomi caught words like dirty, lucky break, and trying too hard. She froze. Her heart sank. "What's going on?" A security guard walked by and quietly handed her a small note. "You're the one in that video, right?" Naomi opened it. It was a link to a video posted on social media. She hadn't even clicked it yet when her phone buzzed. An unknown number had texted. "Don't be afraid. They've seen it, and they'll know who you are." The world seemed to pause. She found a quiet corner in the employee restroom and nervously opened the clip. It was her from the dash cam. The white SUV splashing her with muddy water, Vanessa's mocking laugh, Naomi silently picking up her bag and walking away. Just 35 seconds long, but it had millions of views. The comments below didn't attack Naomi. On the contrary, thousands were defending her, outraged by Vanessa Monroe's arrogance. She didn't say a word, didn't curse, just walked away. That hurt more. Naomi is a silent hero. Who is this girl? I want to support her. Naomi felt her knees weaken. For the first time in her life, people were standing up for her, even if only through a screen. But along with that gratitude came a deep unease. She didn't want fame. She only wanted peace. She was afraid of losing her job, being accused of damaging a client's reputation. She returned early to the locker room. And again, another brown paper bag hung from her hook. Inside was a new pair of canvas shoes and an envelope. "Don't let anyone dim your light. D." This time, there was a signature. Just one letter. Naomi clutched the note. A flicker of hope stirred within her. At the top floor, Daniel sat in a private meeting with Monica. She laid a stack of reports on the table. The videos trending #1. Monroe Line lost 3 major contracts in the past 24 hours. Daniel nodded. "Good. Let them learn. There's a price for cruelty." Monica glanced at him. "And Naomi?" He was silent for a few seconds, then said, "She won't be a cleaner forever." He picked up a fresh folder labeled Emerging Talent Development Program. In the upper right corner, a name had already been written, Naomi Carter. Daniel knew Naomi's dream had once been buried, but now he would be the one to help it rise again. Naomi walked quickly through the side lobby of Crownville Towers, still feeling unsettled. Every step echoed faintly on the marble floor, and she couldn't shake the sense that all eyes were on her. And indeed, they were. Ever since the video had gone viral, everything around her had changed. Her coworkers whispered behind her back. Some asked for photos. Others looked at her with a mix of admiration and distance. Naomi didn't know whether to feel grateful or afraid. She wasn't used to being the center of attention. All she had ever wanted was to quietly do her job and go home to her sister. But there was one thing that brought her comfort. The little paper bags kept appearing. Not frequently, never showy. Just simple things, a pair of shoes, gloves, a box of tea, a worn paperback, and always a handwritten note, signed with a single letter, D. She had never met the sender. Didn't even know how to thank them. But every time she opened a bag, her heart warmed, because somewhere out there, someone saw her, not as a filthy janitor or that girl in the video, but as Naomi, a person. On Tuesday morning, Naomi was assigned to clean the 34th floor, the top level, home to Daniel Hayes' executive office. She had never been up there. Carpeted halls, soft golden lights, everything so elegant it made her hesitate to take a step. Naomi kept her head down as she entered the main boardroom, its glass wall revealing a breathtaking view of the city. She quietly began wiping down tables, chairs, and windows. From here, she could see all the way to West Pine, where she and Olivia lived. "Miss Carter?" Naomi turned quickly. A tall man in a black suit, brown hair swept to the side, stood in the doorway. His eyes were sharp but not cold, a calm, searching gaze. "Yes, I'm Naomi," she stammered, clutching her cleaning rag. He gave a small smile. "I'm Daniel Hayes. It's a pleasure to meet you." Naomi froze. "Daniel Hayes? CEO of Hayes Enterprises?" The man rumored to be aloof, distant, never seen unless there was a major shareholders meeting. I'm just cleaning the boardroom. I'll be out in a second." She rushed to pack her supplies. Daniel stepped closer, gently stopping her. "No need to hurry. I just came to grab a file." "But actually," he paused, "I wanted to meet you." Naomi looked up, confused. Daniel sat down, took off his watch, placed it on the table, then said softly, "I saw the video, and I was the one who sent the paper bags." She stood frozen, not in shock, but in a strange mix of gratitude and trust. Why would you do that?" she asked softly. Daniel looked at her for a few moments before replying. "Because I once had a mother like you. She worked herself to the bone in silence to raise me, but no one ever saw her strength, and I never got to thank her in time." He paused, taking a breath. "I don't want to make that mistake again." Naomi didn't speak. His words didn't need embellishment. They were enough to stir something in her heart. Not love, not yet, but something deeper, the feeling of finally being understood. Daniel stood and placed a thin folder in front of her. "This is a scholarship within Hayes Enterprises. We run a training program for high-potential staff. I'd like to invite you to join." "Me?" Naomi pointed to herself, eyes wide. "You deserve it. I see in how you clean every stair, every window, and in how you said nothing, yet made the whole world listen." She opened the folder. Inside was a full learning and development roadmap, personal finance, soft skills, career pathways. The program lasted 18 months, came with financial support, and guaranteed a transition into entry-level admin roles. Naomi quietly turned the pages, her hands trembling slightly. At the end of the file was a handwritten line. "Give yourself a chance. Show the world another Naomi. D." That afternoon, Naomi left work earlier than usual. She stopped by the store to buy a chocolate popsicle for Olivia, then walked back to their old apartment building. Her sister was sitting on the stoop, drawing with chalk. "You're home." Olivia ran over and hugged her tightly. Naomi crouched down and handed her the treat. "I have something to tell you." The two of them sat side by side. Naomi told her about the mysterious gift giver, about the meeting, about the training program, and about a different future that might now be possible if she dared to take it. Olivia listened wide-eyed, then said very seriously, "So, does that mean you won't have to scrub stairs anymore?" Naomi nodded. "If I'm brave enough." Olivia tilted her head in thought, then smiled. "I think you are. You're my superhero." Naomi laughed, pulling her sister into a hug. In that moment, she understood something deeply true. A single paper bag, a quiet heart, and a sincere offer could ignite the fire in a life that was almost lost to darkness. 2 months had passed since Naomi entered Hayes Enterprises' internal development program. Every morning, she still arrived at Crownville Towers on time, but no longer carrying rags or a mop. She now wore a crisp white shirt and a badge that read, Naomi Carter, Office Assistant Intern. Still Naomi, but no longer the girl who kept her head down in the lobby. She had learned to lift her gaze, to greet others with a soft smile, and, most importantly, to be greeted in return, with respect. Every afternoon, she attended soft skills classes, time management, personal finance, teamwork. At night, she studied quietly in their small apartment, Olivia by her side, coloring or dozing off in her lap. Change didn't come like in the movies. But little by little, Naomi was stepping out of her own shadow. Meanwhile, Vanessa Monroe was sinking deeper into crisis. Fashion partners canceled contracts. Models walked away. Social media exploded in outrage. And then came the final blow, an email from Hayes Enterprises. Crownville Towers will terminate all image licensing agreements with Monroe Line effective April 1st. Vanessa screamed into the phone, demanding her lawyer fix everything. But for the first time, no one was willing to defend her. The clip, the public's icy stare, and the deafening silence from the industry had done what Naomi never even asked for. Justice delivered quietly. One Friday afternoon, in the grand lobby of Crownville Towers, the very place where Naomi had once been humiliated, a small ceremony was being held. The graduation for staff completing the High Potential Development Program. Naomi stood in line, nervously gripping a speech she'd written the night before. When her name was called, she stepped onto the small stage amid steady applause. No cameras, no glittering lights, but in the eyes of Olivia, sitting in the front row in her old blue dress, it was the most dazzling moment in the world. Naomi took the mic and drew a deep breath. I used to think justice was loud, a shout, a protest, but now I believe that sometimes justice comes in silence, through quiet actions, and through a paper bag. The room fell still. Behind a curtain, Daniel watched, his eyes soft. I want to thank the one who didn't try to be a loud hero, but let me rise on my own. I don't know how far I'll go, but I know that today is a true beginning. As she stepped down, Olivia ran up and hugged her tightly. You were amazing, just like in the movies. Naomi laughed. Not a movie, sweetheart. This is real life, and I'm writing it. After the event, Daniel approached them. He knelt slightly to meet Olivia's height. Hi there. I'm a friend of your sister. May I take you both out to celebrate? Olivia looked up at Naomi with sparkling eyes. Please? I want pizza. Naomi blushed, smiled, and nodded. That evening, the three of them sat at a tiny pizza shop near Central Station. No grand table, no chandeliers, just three people. One who had given silently, one who had once been invisible, and a child with a simple dream, that her sister would keep smiling. Daniel looked at Naomi and said quietly, I don't know what the future holds, but if you'll let me, I want to walk beside you. Not to save you, but to walk with you. Naomi didn't answer right away. She looked at Olivia, who was trying to stuff a huge bite of pizza in her mouth and giggling, then turned to Daniel. You gave me something even bigger than an opportunity. You gave me belief. And I think I'm ready to believe again. Daniel smiled. He said nothing more. But in that silence was something louder than words. When love grows from respect, it doesn't need to shout. 1 year later, Naomi was officially hired as a logistics coordinator at Hayes Enterprises. Olivia attended a better school, full scholarship, proudly known as the little sister of an inspiring woman. Naomi no longer received mystery paper bags. But every time she passed the 34th floor hallway, she smiled. Because she knew sometimes a quiet act of kindness can change the course of a life forever.